Okay, welcome back to the show. Welcome to episode, what are we on? 594 of BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. In this show, we're talking some more New York Yankees, man. This could be the last Yankees episode we do until, we get news on Yamamoto, which is supposed to be taking place this month, right? When Yamamoto was posted, I think it was like a 3-week. They said he's expected to sign within 20 days, something like that. But in this episode, we're going to talk Yankees pitching. Who's out there? And as you can tell by the title, what happens if the Yankees can't, don't, or get outbid for Yamamoto? If they don't sign Yamamoto, there are some options out there, but the starting pitching market isn't exactly deep. Regardless, we're going to discuss these options in tonight's show. Saturday, December 16th, episode 594 of the podcast. Welcome to BD4. Let's get right into the show, folks, and we'll get started from there. Let's go. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
You guys trying to close the show. She was doing a great job of feeding. It's over.
Don't you regret not coming to the net? Don't you regret not coming to the net?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Okay, welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 594 of BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone, and you are listening to the podcast, BD4. So, yeah, I mean, let's just get right into it. No need to waste time. If you're new here, well, follow. Hope you're enjoying the show. And if you're not, you know the rules. You know where to find me. You know where everything is. It's right in the description. Man, I'm getting more concerned about this Yamamoto shit by the day. No, and I have no reason to be. Like, there's nothing new that's happened, but like, I've actually been hearing some positive quotes by reporters saying how like the Yankees are enamored. But, the Ken Rosenthal article came out saying how the Yankees are preparing, to go after one Dylan Cease if they cannot acquire Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I completely mispronounced his name there. That's why I call him Yoshi. But, yeah, I mean, the hope is that the Yankees don't have to pivot to a plan B. Let me just put my charger in to my tablet here. Hopefully it doesn't screw anything up. Okay, we're good. And we'll see, man. But bottom line, the Yankees do need some pitching. And we're going to talk about a few pitchers in this show. We're going to talk about Dylan Cease. We'll talk about others like Corbin Burnes, Shane Bieber, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell. And maybe a couple of guys after that. But I just like the Yankees really do need pitching. And the Juan Soto thing is wonderful. It's fantastic. It's great, man. I woke up this morning and the first thing I did was watch Jalen Brunson's 50-piece highlights from last night. But after that, I started watching some Juan Soto highlights before I began my day. Because I'm still excited. But the euphoria has, I don't want to say worn off because I'm still like thrilled, but you also start to recognize if the Yankees, Juan Soto's great. it's not the only issue we had. We had more issues than, an outfield spot, than a lineup spot. Because the starting pitching rotation last year was below average. And the Yankees are going to have to address that not once, maybe not even twice, probably 3 times. Like they're going to need to do a lot to this rotation. Because outside of Garrett Cole, who was not only the most durable pitcher in the rotation last year, and he always is, knock on wood, he was also their most effective and by a wide margin, right? He won the Cy Young, and then there was just a big drop-off on the other 4 days of the week. A lot of injuries, a lot of underachieving, a lot of question marks. But the Yankees, who would you say the best pitcher outside Garrett Cole was last year? Clark Schmidt. And that says a lot that, Clark Schmidt with his 4.5 ERA, whatever it ended up being, was the Yankees' second best pitcher. Because Rodon was hurt. He was terrible when he was healthy. Nestor Cortez was hurt all year. Domingo Germán was a head case. He pitched a perfect game. You had more shit going on outside the field. And, it just wasn't good elsewhere. They need, the way I look at it, man, is they need to go out and get a frontline starter. Somebody who can be up front in the rotation right behind Cole. But then they also need to get like a decent arm outside that. And then for some insurance, get a lower level, name outside of that, just in case. And it depends who they get as their guy. The rest of the dominoes will fall after that. Like if they go out and get a Yamamoto and they land him, then I'm fine with the Montez signing, Frankie Montas. But it can't just be Frankie Montas and then something under him. It's got to be, you need that 1B. My gosh, do you? And again, in a scarce pitching market, it's beggars can't be choosers. And if the Yankees, again, get outbid, whatever, on Yamamoto, we're going to have to pivot. And one of the names that has been popping up lately has been this guy, Dylan Cease. And Dylan Cease is a right-handed pitcher. Most recently pitched for the Chicago White Sox. He's 6'2", 195 pounds. Turns 28 years old in 2 weeks, which is good. We want pitchers right in the middle of their prime. Or at the beginning. And yeah, it's a pivot move, which I don't love. But if the Yankees were to get Yoshi Yamamoto and then go make a deal to get Dylan Cease, that's perfect for me. That would make me very happy. Because I'm intrigued with him. I just don't want this to be the plan B. Because with Dylan Cease, what you're doing is you're relying on upside and not resume. Because, and there is upside there. I see potential. There's a lot of hype on him for a reason. You're always hearing people talk about him, which it kind of reminds me of Zach Wheeler a few years ago. I never at the time understood the hype early on when he was with the Mets. But eventually, all the nerds were saying, this kid's good. The indicators, you peel back the layers, he's going to turn into a stud. I never got that at the time. I didn't understand it. But eventually, Zach Wheeler, once he hit his 30s and as soon as he went to Philadelphia, he started pitching like a frontline starter. So Dylan Cease kind of reminds me of that type of pitcher, where I think he's going to bloom into a good pitcher in his 30s. And again, he's hitting that spot right now. He's 28. I think this might be where people see the upside. If you like the nerd shit, you go on his baseball reference. The entire page is, well, not the entire page. There's a lot of red. There's some red on the page. The fastball velocity is red. That's good. His whiff rate is red. That's good. His K rate is red. His barrel percentage is red. All right. If you're not into that stuff, okay. He's got some accomplishments in his past. He's had 3 consecutive seasons with 200 strikeouts now. 3 straight seasons with at least 30 starts. In 2022, which I believe the highlights on the screen are from 2022 if you're watching the YouTube edit. In that year, he placed second in the AL Cy Young voting. With a 14-8 record, a 2.20 ERA, 227 strikeouts across 184 innings. He led the American League in strikeouts per 9 that year. And he has 2 complete game shutouts under his belt already in his career. So the upside says this is a kid with a 4-pitch package. He's fastball, slider, curve, change. Primarily fastball, slider. The slider is his best pitch. That's his put-away pitch. It's an unhittable pitch. Really is unhittable. He gets a ton of outs with his slider. He's mostly going to right-handed batters with it. I would say it's 65-35. But that's absolutely his best pitch. His fastball sits at 95-97. It does get hit a bit. He has a curveball where he goes mostly to left-handed batters with that curve. It also gets hit a little bit. Last year it was hit a lot. And then he has a changeup that he doesn't really go to. He's had inconsistent results with it year to year, but at very low usage. Very low. So Dylan Cease could be a guy I see coming over here and being a good Matt Blake project. I feel like he's somebody who Matt Blake could tap into. Because the Yankees like high velo pitchers with good breaking stuff. I feel like Dylan Cease fits that mold to a T. You know. Now, there are concerns about Dylan Cease. Right? He's had inconsistent results. Right? His baseball reference isn't the greatest. Okay, he had a 4.58 ERA last year. So his resume is not special. In 5 seasons, he's had a 5.79 as a rookie. He had a 4.01 in his second year during the COVID season. He had a 3.91 in 2021. Again, the 2.20 in 2022, the Cy Young candidacy. And then last season, 4.58. He did have a better September, if you care. And if you care about this, he's not great against the AL East. He has a 6.85 ERA against Boston in 5 starts. A 5.40 ERA across 5 starts against the Rays. A 6.75 through 4 starts against the Yankees. Obviously, he'd be here. He does have a .69 versus Toronto, but that's across just 2 starts. And if you care, he's also 0-3 against the Astros with a 4.18 and 6 starts. So that's not great. And if you like the nerd shit, there are some blue categories on there. Blue is bad. The chase rate's blue. His exit velo average and his hard hit rate is blue. His walk rate's not good. He's got major control problems that Matt Blake would certainly have to work on him with. You look at his walks per 9, and I'm rounding here. 4 walks per 9, 5 walks per 9, and then the last 3 years, he's had 4 walks per 9 each. So he led the American League in wild pitches in 2021 and in 2023. So he's got control problems. Another thing that concerns me about Cease, his ground ball rate's not exactly great. This is a fly ball pitcher. And fly ball pitcher coming into Yankee Stadium, flashbacks to Sonny Gray. Phil Hughes in his later years had issues with home run ball. It's not a great thing. Doesn't get great extension on his release. If you watch him, if you see these highlights, if you're watching the YouTube or Spotify edit where the video is posted, you could see Dylan Cease highlights, and it looks like he short arms it. It's not like Yoshi Yamamoto, where the big thing with Yamamoto is he gets great extension on his delivery. So there are definitely concerns. You're getting a guy with 2 more years of control. He's only estimated to make $8 million next year. Probably going to cost some more prospects, though, because the Chicago White Sox are still in the midst of a rebuild, and it's going to be a heavy price. You know, I read the article with Rosenthal. I don't know that he mentioned a specific mock trade, but I did read another article that was mentioning Jason Dominguez being a headliner. No, thank you. If that's what it's going to take, no, thank you. Now, if the White Sox want AA talent, maybe Chase Hampton. Maybe he headlines with another top guy in there. Okay, I'll think about that. You know, Hampton's one of the Yankees' top prospects. He was also, I believe he's in the top 100 in baseball on the pipeline. So when it comes to Dylan Cease, I would not prefer him as the guy that the Yankees get in the rotation. He has to be we'll get this guy, and then we'll go after Cease to beefing it up a little bit. But you have to get that guy that you know. You need some certainty in there. And I don't think Dylan Cease screams certainty. He's a guy I get after I get Yamamoto, after I get an ace-like pitcher. Because while Dylan Cease could be that guy, there's a lot of could-bes in the rotation as it is. So as far as Dylan Cease goes, that's it. There are a couple of more guys we're going to get to, as we showed you at the top of the show, if you're watching the video format. And we also told you. So yeah, welcome to BD4, episode 594 of the podcast in this show. Yanks pivoting to Dylan Cease, ? Is the name of this episode. If you're new to the podcast, well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and review there. If you want to subscribe to us there, please do that. Download these episodes. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the video edit of these podcast episodes are on YouTube, and they're also on Spotify. So you can go there as well. You want to follow us on social media, at BD4Pod on Instagram, at BD4Pod on Twitter or X, BD4 on Facebook. And if you want to find the blog, go to BD4blog.com, where we write the blog. We write a blog. Yankees, Knicks, sometimes MMA. We've been very active with the Yankees this year, with the Knicks this year. Actually just wrote a Yankees article recently. So go check out our blog, bd4blog.com/blog, to get to the blog section of the website. bd4blog.com/blog. If you want to support the podcast, you can help us out on Venmo. That'd be great. At Robert-Carbone Jr. Jr. 28. But that's it as far as Dylan Cease goes. Corbin Burnes is an alternative name I've been hearing. I wanted him last season. Corbin Burnes is a right-handed pitcher. He is 6'3", 246 pounds. Excuse me. He's a big dude. 29 years old. He's got a great resume. He would definitely help the Yankees out in the year 2024. He's won an NL Cy Young in 2021, where he took the ERA title that year. He's a 3-time All-Star across 6 seasons already. He's had a sub-3 ERA in 4 of those 6 seasons. And he's become a full-time starting pitcher in the last 3 years, where he's made 93 starts combined. So he's very durable. In 2021, he was 11-5 with a 2.43 across 167 innings, 28 starts. 2022, he was 12-8 with a 2.94 across 202 innings, 33 starts. And then last season, Corbin Burnes went 10-8 with a 3.39 ERA, 193 and 2/3 innings across 32 starts. If you go to his nerd site, Baseball Savant is all red. All red. His fastball velo is good. Average exit velo is good. Chase rate, whiff rate, K rate, that's decent. The barrel percentages, the hard hit rate, that's good. His ground ball rate's decent. It's like 60-40. He doesn't allow a ton of home runs either. So Corbin Burnes, definitely intriguing. He's a guy with a very good, very deep arsenal of pitches. Cutter, curve, changeup, slider, sinker. In that order from usage. He's very cutter reliant though. It's cutter, and then everything else is less than 20% of the time. His cutter sits at 94 to 96. He gained more confidence with that pitch in 2020, and since it's become a very, very tough pitch to hit. He goes mostly to left-handed batters with it, but he's still pretty balanced overall. The curveball, it sits at 79 to 80 miles an hour. That's become an excellent pitch for him. It's a very unhittable pitch. He also uses that pitch to both lefties and righties. And I mean, you can keep going down on his resume. His slider is an incredibly unhittable pitch, even more so than the curve. The difference is he favors right-handed batters with that slider. He's extremely heavy with it to right-handed batters. He doesn't throw that slider to lefties. The changeup sits at around 88 to 91. It's also a very hard pitch to hit. He only goes to lefties with the changeup, so I would imagine he fades it low and away a lot. You know, it dives arm side. And the sinker. You know, I haven't watched a ton of him, so I don't know if it's more of a two-seam or if it's more of a sinking action on the pitch. But he doesn't use it a ton. It's not often used. When it does, it gets slugged around some. But I would imagine with the sinker, he likes going low and inside to right-handed hitters with it, because I was looking at his Baseball Savant, and he favors it to righties. But yeah, this is a guy who would... He's not getting paid much next year. He's only making $14 million, so it's not too much of a hit on your payroll. Just the concerns, you know, he walks an average amount of batters. He's not, I wouldn't say he's a walk machine, but it's one of the non-red sections on his Baseball Savant. He's coming off a down season where, you're worrying can he get back to that ace level? I think so, but it is worth noting that his ERA did jump almost 50 points. He lost some velocity last season. And we also don't know if Milwaukee's going to trade him. I've been hearing they do. Lately, I've been hearing they don't. They might try contending first and then flip him at the deadline if they can get something for him. But if the Yankees want him, he's going to cost a lot because he will be a rental ace. And that would be a heavy price that you've paid on rentals. Like, that would make 3 acquisitions this winter where you'd have given up all this depth for 3 guys on 1-year deals. or with 1 year deal, 1 year remaining on their deal. Right? You gave up 5 players to San Diego, 3 players to Boston. Not to mention you lost 3 to the Rule 5. And let's say a deal for Corbin Burnes would cost at least 3 more. That's going to be 14, maybe 15 pitchers in that you'd have lost this past offseason. Like that's a lot of depth. I don't care if you think some of these pitchers are worth losing or not. Their depth, their bodies, their arms. The Yankees need arms, and that's a ton of depth that you're getting rid of. So you talk about World Series or bust. Like, if you don't win the World Series, which obviously that would mean everything worked out great, you literally bust. And you have left yourself screwed for the future. So, because you're thinking like Corbin Burnes, yes, he's a rental, but he's also an ace. And pitchers are gold today. So he would probably cost a lot. Like Spencer Jones would probably headline that deal. And then you'd probably be talking about Everson Pereira or Oswald Peraza on the side. Maybe like Schmidt plus one of Pereira or Peraza and then Jones. You know what I mean? Like, it would be a lot. If they move, veteran Willie Adames, would they want Oswald Peraza there? So you'd go, let's say like Jones, Clark, Peraza, and then maybe a lower level prospect. Is that the deal? Is that worth it? Because if you want to pay Soto, if you want Hal to pony up and pay Soto, and Burnes is expected to make at least $200 million next winter, at least. That's asking Hal Steinbrenner to, pay $60-70 million to 2 players in 1 year. If the Yankees pass on Yamamoto or they get outbid, are they willing to gut their prospect depth even more for another rental player? I don't see it. I don't see them do it. I don't see them doing it. But he's an option. And again, beggars cannot be choosers. Which brings us to our next pitcher that I want to touch on. In Blake Snell. And we'll talk about Blake Snell as soon as we return from our first break here on the show of BD4, episode 594. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We appreciate you sticking around and listening so far. When you have a chance, be sure to open YouTube to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you're already watching on YouTube, be sure to head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate your feedback and are always looking to improve. Now, with that all said, let's get you back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. And you are listening to episode 594 of BD4. I appreciate you stopping by. So, Blake Snell is the next guy I want to talk about. Yankees fans know him from when he was in the AL East with the Rays. Left-handed pitcher. Obviously, he pitched for San Diego last year. Left-handed pitcher, 6'4", 225. He's 31 years old. A solid resume on Blake Snell. This is a 2-time Cy Young winner. Just recently. 2-time ERA title in 8 seasons. He's a 1-time All-Star. He's a guy who doesn't allow a ton of hits. That's one thing I like about him. He's led the league in hits per 9 twice. And you look at his baseball savant, it's very good. Everything is red except for chase rate, which is below average. His ground ball rate is slightly above average. He hasn't allowed over 16 home runs in a year before either. But his walk rate is horrendously bad. It's very below average. It's in the fourth percentile, I believe, when I looked at his savant pitch. He led the league last year in walks with 99 walks. Okay, that's 5 walks per 9. He's got a 4.1 career walks per 9. His career best in walks per 9, which he did twice, was 3.2, which is not a good number. Not as your best. So he struggles, as you can imagine, going very deep into the game because of that. He's a 5-inning pitcher most of the time. I'm also concerned when it comes to Blake Snell on the injury, the durability. There have been a number of seasons where he's missed time. 180 innings in his that was his career high last year. But I think he hit that mark twice. Every other season in his career, though, the other 6 seasons, he went 120-something innings or lower in the 120s. So it's like you're already worrying about Carlos Rodon's health. The shoulder, the back. Nestor's coming back from an injury. God forbid Garrett Cole, who's been Iron Man, goes down. It's a little risky there. And it's like, it's also, you look at it, and he's a lefty. Like, the fact that you'd be adding a third lefty into the rotation is not great. Like, lefties are great, but everything is great to an extent. Having 3 left-handed pitchers is a matchup issue 3 out of every 5 days, since the league is primarily right-handed. Is that going to work in the Yankee Stadium? He's a free agent, so you don't have to pay prospect depth anymore, but he will cost a lot of money. If you're trying to bring back Soto, again, do you want to pay Blake Snell $200 million? Do you want another Carlos Rodon contract? You have to, what's Rodon making? 180 over 6? Close to that? I would say Snell's expecting something similar with a little more. I would say 200 across 6 could be what you see Blake Snell get in this market. I don't know. I haven't heard the Yankees and Snell connect at all. Like, I don't think they're interested. I've not heard them talk about that with the Padres. No, he's a free agent. So, yeah, I haven't heard them and Snell. There's been no connection so far, so I don't think that's happening. But just an idea. And then there is a familiar name. Obviously, Jordan Montgomery, right? We know Montgomery from his years as a Yankee. And the thing with Montgomery with me is he's a very solid pitcher. But unlike some of these guys that we're listing, Burnes, Snell, Yamamoto, I don't see Montgomery with that upside as like a frontline guy. I don't see him as a number 1. I don't see him as a number 2. I feel like at best Montgomery's a number 3. He's a solid number 3 pitcher. No All-Star appearances, no Cy Young, no ERA title, anything like that. He's not not a crazy strikeout guy. Soft contact, ground balls, pop-ups, from what I remember. And he has been better since leaving the Yankees, which I guess you could look at that one of two ways. He had a 3.94 ERA with the Yankees in New York City. Then he had a 3.31 with the Cardinals across 32 starts, and a 2.79 with Texas across 11 starts. He obviously won the World Series there this past season. Pitched very well in the playoffs. He had 7 shutout against the Rays early on in October. He struggled against Baltimore, but they ended up winning that game anyway. Then he had 3 great appearances in the ALCS against Houston, 2 starts, and a solid game 2 in the World Series where he won 6+. So, can he be that guy here? Again, one of two ways. You can say, well, he's improved since he was last here. He's a better pitcher now. Or you can say, you can question why he thrived so much away from New York City. There's less pressure in Texas. Nobody cares about them. World Series numbers were terrible. There's less pressure in St. Louis. You're in the middle of nowhere. it does seem like Jordan Montgomery's always been a quiet country kid, not exactly a big city player. You know, I just don't know if Jordan Montgomery is enough for me to be like, okay, we got our guy. Like, if they lose out on Yami, I don't know that they can get Jordan Montgomery, and I'd be like, fuck yeah. Again, as a lesser option in addition to an ace, sure. But I think if we're talking 1A, a 1B next to Cole, I'd rather take a risk on a rental like Burnes. I'd rather take a risk on Snell. Dylan Cease intrigues me. I'm slowly buying in on him, but still, he's kind of in that Montgomery category where I'd be like, only with another guy better than him, you know? Do I prefer Shane Bieber? Would that be enough for me? Let's talk about Shane Bieber. Because you've kind of heard this name too. Shane Bieber with the Cleveland Guardians, right-handed pitcher. 6'3", 200 pounds, 29 years old. Another pitcher entering the prime of his career. He's had a solid resume. He's got a solid one. Cy Young winner, 2-time All-Star in 6 years, Triple Crown, a Gold Glove, an ERA title. Now, the tricky thing with me when it comes to Shane Bieber is the inconsistent results, the injury history. It's a little up and down. You go through his resume. He had a 4.55 ERA as a rookie. Whatever, that's normal. He had a 3.28 ERA year 2 across 33 games, 34 starts. Very good. Or 34 games, 33 starts. In 2020, that was his Triple Crown year. He had ridiculous numbers, 1.63 ERA. That was also the COVID season. Weird year. Nobody there, just 12 measly starts, 77 innings. Nobody really counts that. 2021, he had a good year. ERA sat at 3.17. The thing there, it was a very small sample as well because he dealt with a shoulder injury, so he was limited to 16 starts, 96 2/3. 2022, he had his first full season where he pitched like an ace since his second season in 2019. He had a 2.88 ERA across 31 starts, pitched 200 innings. Then last season came, and he took another step back. He had a 6-6 record, a 3.80 ERA, and only 21 starts in 128 innings because he dealt with right elbow inflammation. So I don't know if I am too intrigued with Shane Bieber. I just need more consistency. I worry about the health. I've heard, and I've not just heard, but I looked it up. His strikeout numbers, his velocity numbers, they've gone down more and more and more in recent seasons. And that's all while his hit totals have climbed up. I've heard that he went away from the curveball last year. Maybe that's something Matt Blake can help him gain more confidence in again. He is only 28 years old after all, so I'm not saying he's going to be declining. But what I am saying is, all in all, I would rather save those prospects for a different deal. I don't trust Shane Bieber 100% to be my number 2 to Garrett Cole, which is what we're looking for here, folks. You know? At the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. Who can be the number 2 to Cole? I want the guy, if we're doing this whole World Series or bust thing, man, I want the guy who's the best. Not the safest option, not the cheapest option. I want the guy who's the best and I worry about later. So yeah, I would consider Corbin Burnes. And then there's other guys you've heard. You know, Frankie Montas, is there a reunion there? Again, I'm fine with that as an additional pitching addition. As an additional pitching acquisition. But not the big move. He's like a guy you get when the offseason's all done. I've heard Lucas Giolito's name. Stay away from that, please. At least as a primary move. You're also hearing a little bit about this other Japanese kid they're talking about. Maybe we'll have an episode on him sometime soon. We'll see. But yeah, with me, it's the Yankees probably need at least 2, probably 3 pitchers. They need a big name. They need a decent name, and then probably a no-name third pitcher added to that at the end. Maybe a minor leaguer you bring up, you trade for, maybe a prospect, a small deal. But you definitely need at least 2 guys you can look at and be like, okay. And I feel like the best route to go is getting Yamamoto as your first primary move. Because after that, in my opinion, it's Yamamoto, and then there's a big drop-off. So we'll see what happens there. We will absolutely see in these next few days. I have a feeling we're going to get some news by the end of next week. So as I'm recording, again, it's Saturday, December 16th. I'm going to predict and say he signs somewhere by Friday. Maybe it's earlier. It still feels like it's going to be Yankees, Dodgers, Mets. And hopefully the Yankees are as hell-bent on getting him as I've been hearing from some reporters. Not me personally, but just looking online. I don't know shit. But, yeah, we'll see, man. We will see. That's it. We'll head to our final break, get back, and we'll wrap up with our trivia when we return here on BD4. Stay with us. Be right back.
You can also find us on social media. If you'd like, you can follow BD4 on Facebook, and we're at BD4Pod on both Instagram and Twitter. We appreciate you helping us grow more and more every day. Let's get back to it. If you have time in the day, or maybe just prefer old-fashioned reading over listening, then you can always follow along and subscribe to BD4 Blog by going to BD4blog.com. We're not on there as often, but when we do post, it's just as entertaining, opinionated, and passionate as we are on this podcast. Thank you so much. And let's keep on with the show.
Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. Welcome back to the show, episode 594 of BD4. Be sure to subscribe, download, rate, and review. Download these episodes, like I just said. I'm your host, RJ. I appreciate you stopping by and listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Be sure to check us out on all our platforms if you want to watch the video edit of this podcast. That's up on Spotify and YouTube. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'd be great. We're getting better numbers on YouTube of late, so I appreciate that. And you can find us on our website at bd4blog.com. If you want to find the blog, that's on there. If you want to find more links and ways to get to our podcast on there, all the platforms are linked on there as well. BD4blog.com, where I write Yankees, Knicks, MMA as well once in a while. I've been way more active on there this year talking Knicks. We recently wrote a Yankees article, so check out BD4blog.com. Let's wrap this thing up with our trivia, folks. All right, so in this episode 594 of the podcast, which Yankees second baseman set a team record by hitting 171 singles in the 1989 season? All right, one final time. Which Yankees second baseman set a team record by hitting 171 singles in the 1989 season. For some reason, I feel like we've done this episode. For some reason, I feel like we did this question before. I'm rushing because I really want to watch this final UFC card of the year. So, hey, maybe we'll have a UFC episode soon. I know we don't do that often here, but on occasion, folks. UFC 294 tonight, man. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a big one. I'm rooting for Kobe because he's playing the whole villain thing, and he's doubled down recently with some controversial comments. But it's funny, like, people want the villain in the UFC, and then when that villain says something they don't like, it's like, no, never mind, I don't want him. It's like, you have to understand the role of the villain is to literally be the villain. It's like he's gonna say shit you don't like. Not that I agree with any of that. Like, a lot of that shit he says is, the whole thing on Leon's father, that's a little crazy to me, but you know what? That's what the villain is. They say shit you don't want to hear. They say shit that's out there that's not exactly right, moral. But it's like people say they want a villain until they get a villain. And he's playing that well. He really is. It's like Draymond Green in the NBA. I'm loving this whole thing. I know people are like, oh, he needs help. He needs mental health. Fucking choking motherfuckers, punching motherfuckers in the face, hitting Nurkic in the face. Like, it's fucking hilarious. The NBA, I like it. I like it. I love it. I'm sorry. I like guys like that. I like a dirty player, man. This is the most controversial thing I could probably say. I like it. I'm all for the bad guy in sports, man. I love that role. It's funny. It makes me laugh when people get upset in sports, because it's all meaningless at the end of the day. So we can laugh at it. I'm off topic, and we're gonna wrap this up here before I get myself into further trouble. It's a good thing I don't have any listeners because I'd get in so much trouble if I did. Let's finish it here. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next show. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you, and we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees, and go Knicks!